Good morning, people. Good morning. This is Spirit Journey. Today is August 26th. I think it's the 26th, 2020. And it's Wednesday. The time is 3:14 a.m. I was awake now for maybe close to an hour, maybe half an hour. And had video playing in the background. I like to talk about a little bit about Brazil, uh, racial identity. It's kind of going to be a little jumbled, the weaving different thoughts regarding all these different elements and identity. Um, but the main thing I want to get out of this talk is the need to know your neighbor, know other people of similar background to black heritage, because knowledge of others, of your diverse community, your expanded community, is important. And I see how information is being withheld to shape your thinking. That is the essence of what this talk is going to be about, at least my attempt. Well, I was just watching something on Brazil. I was introduced to the subject of Brazil many years ago. I think it was the late 70s, and I found a book on Brazil. The book, it was a paperback book, and it's called Neither Black Nor White. And it's about the history of Brazil in its race relations. And I remember back then, well, I'm from, for those who don't know me over the internet, my channel, Spirit Journey, I'm an American girl, woman, of black ancestry. I'm classified as a black woman in America, but I am of mixed heritage. And in America, and in New York City specifically, where I'm born and raised, the hatred of the black woman. The black woman is really vilified, to be considered ugly. She's viewed as the angry black woman, and in particular the darker skinned black woman. And some of the abuses that could happen within the black community on colorism, and how the jealousies that could happen between women. Women are sensitive, and when a woman feels like she's not considered beautiful in her society, she's going to lash out. And so I did get some abuse from some of my darker sisters of blackness. And I did not understand colorism or racism. It's not something that was openly talked about in my family. And coming from a family where both of my parents are of black heritage, but one is a very dark-skinned person, my father, and then my mother is a mixed race, also of mixed race, but she looks like a Caucasian person. So and again, they come from their parents came from the Caribbean, So my family or household has maybe a different mindset in comparison to, let's say, someone, a black family, but both black parents, but maybe their ancestry came from the southeast in America. So they're gonna have a different, they're gonna have a different outlook. I think different. They have a different experience, different but the same. If you understand what I mean. Um, so my living in New York, I faced discrimination and also hatred from my own, mostly from women. Yeah, I didn't get hatred from the black men, not at all, but there were some aggressions, and I was afraid of aggressiveness. Yeah, because I came from an aggressive, male dominated home, and I feared it. Um, so let's see. So as for with Brazil, now, yeah, my introduction to Brazil. So that book that I was just telling you guys about. And so coming from my background of not really feeling accepted and facing discrimination in employment and watching television, American television, especially in 1970s and 80s, was so blatant against black people, and it was against lighter stuff. But back in the day, blacks in America, most black people were very dark skinned. Fewer of us were on the lighter side, but still um, not being liked by whites either, even if you're lighter skinned black. So this book about Brazil called Neither Black Nor White was a study on the relationships, the history of blacks in Brazil, but it seemed to romanticize and make it seem okay to be black in Brazil. But it's a fallacy, I would say. I think the fallacy really stems from, like, it focused on the women of Brazil, and in particular the uh, mixed race woman, a woman of black and white heritage, um, and it spun it to me, at least to me. It was quite a while ago since I read the book, but it made you almost wish that you were a Brazilian black or living in Brazil, because it seemed like you were considered a friend, that you were loved in Brazil if you're black. That's how they want to spin it. But it's really, is that really true? Because when you, again, this is not to be a put down on Brazil or insult Brazil. No, this is not my attempt of this video. Okay? But it's just about um, exploring the attitudes and what is in Brazil. I've never been to Brazil. Okay, I have never been there. And just see movies or the news on Brazil. Where do um, where do people live? And if blacks are really loved, why is it that there's extreme poverty? amongst these people, these mixed races. And I'm also reminded by the movie, oh, what was that? The Kiss of the Spider Woman with Sonia Braga. That she, also she also did this other movie, Gabriella. Yeah, the movie Gabriella was my first Brazilian movie. I saw that it could have been around 1982 that movie came out. No, no, wait a minute. Maybe 1986. But it was my first Brazilian movie, I think. I forget when that movie came out. And there was one other movie that I saw on Brazil. But I would say Gabriella is like, see, the movie Gabriella focused on what they call a mulatto. She looks like my mother, actually, that type. Um, a, a light skinned woman with very, very, very long hair. Um, and there was a lot of nudity. Yeah. And she is really sexualized by this character in the movie. He was an Italian man, Italian or Sicilian. And she's really objectified. And this movie is supposed to take place right after slavery. Now, slavery in Brazil ended in 1888. It may be the last country in the Americas that officially ended slavery. They're in the countryside and how the couple meet, and she's just a piece of meat. But it was that type of romanticism that I was introduced to Brazil, that a white person or an Italian could like a woman, excuse me, of African heritage. And that's what the movie seemed to play up on, that you can be loved by a white man or even an Italian, but she is just a piece of meat in the movie, in actuality. And it was like a brainwashing to me to watch this film. I was, again, a very young person at the time. And part of me is romanticized with the film, like it's okay. But there's another part that say, why does she have to be treated like this? It seems like in they call it the Latin world, but I call it the Catholic world. The Catholic dominated societies in America seem to I'm trying to move my cat, seem to objectify women in particular. And it's like part of me is like being like the messages that I supposed to like this, that I supposed to accept this attitude, and this is the normal. Okay, um, it was very confusing to me, and it was especially confusing to me this feeling about Brazil, because see again. I'm reading this book, and I'm a very young person. I was a young adult. I was in the, oh wait a minute, I may have still been in high school. I'm not sure now, but it's around that time. I was just about to graduate, or I just started college, and I'm becoming more and more aware of racism, and I felt very uncomfortable. And it's something that I couldn't really talk to my parents about. And when I did try, I couldn't talk to, I wasn't on good terms with my father. And I felt closer to my mother. But my mother didn't feel comfortable with the topic. So I felt stranded to talk. And I had to try to come to my own senses of my racial identity. So the book neither black nor white, was like a haven for me, like an escape for me to feel that there's somewhere on this planet that I would be loved. I did not feel loved at all. I didn't feel loved as a woman. I didn't feel loved as a woman of black heritage. And so the book almost was like, wow, if I were only a Brazilian, if I only lived in Brazil, I would be loved. And then one day I got like a slap in the face. But see, this is all part of my spiritual journey. And that's the name of my channel. And I share this because I know if I went through this, other people of black heritage went through this or may be going through this. So it's about their liberation. That's the other message behind this. So, what was I saying now? So the book was like a haven for me. And then I had to slap in the face one day when a family member of mine, like I guess after reading the book, and I think might have been some news on Brazil or something. So I said, oh wow, I would really like to go to Brazil. Because everything about Brazil is, oh, go see beautiful Brazil. But actually it was the sexualization of Brazilians, Brazilian females in particular. You know, the trip to Brazil really focuses on its women. They never talk about the men. You notice that in Brazil, they don't really sexualize the men. That's what I meant to say. I might have said women. They never really talk about the men and what women should go to Brazil because of its beautiful men. No, it's about the women, right? But I was curious about Brazil because it's a tropical place, and my background is in the tropics. Actually, you know, my ancestry's background is tropics. So for me, it seemed like getting connected to, at least the environment-wise, a heritage. And so that was a mindset. And so when I said, wow, I'd like to go to Brazil, it was that mindset of the romanticism of Brazil. And so that's what I wanted to partake in, you know, to see the tropics, right? You know, I saw Brazil as a tropical place, you know, but it has a lot of different um, fauna, you know. But either way, when I said that, guess what this family member said to me? Really was a slap in the face. The person said, "Oh, why would you want to go to a place like Brazil? The women there are pretty, and and what was it implying when this person said that? Well, the women there. I didn't say I wanted to go see the women. I said I wanted to go see Brazil. You know, and so what he's implying, it was one of my brothers. What he's saying is, I'm not beautiful. Now I went there too. I wanted to go there. You know, I was very young, and just really repeating this sentiment of Brazil being a glamorous and romantic place to go, a fantasy place. And this person saying, "You're not worthy to go there. Why would you want to go there? They're pretty," implying that I'm not. That is a slap in a woman's face. Wouldn't you say so, folks? Wouldn't that be a slap in your face if someone said that to you? It humiliated me. So in modern Brazil, you know, I've seen films news. I was just waking up, and I saw some YouTube videos on Brazil, and they have a new president, um, Jawan Bolsonaro. Excuse my pronunciation if it's incorrect. My apologies. Um, People call him a messiah, and I'm new with that person, the president. Just maybe 3 months ago, I just heard about him and how they link him to President Trump of the United States of America. And he does stand out to me, the Brazilian president. But they call him a lot of names and everything. But what's the point of bringing that up? He said a real insult to he was saying that a woman was not. He was trying to say a woman was not attractive, and how he implied it was that he wouldn't be willing to rape this woman. It's such a vile thing to say when it is sexualizing a woman. I think she might have been a reporter or something. She was something. And her looks had nothing to do with what the issue was, whatever what the issue was. Being so-called pretty or not, it's not what it's all about. But he went there and insulted her. It seemed like traditional societies, the dominant male, the woman, the housewife type. The woman is sexualized. The woman is sexualized, and that your value is about your looks, and that's what it seems like Brazil is all about. That your value is about your looks if you're female. But you notice the men are never sexualized. You think only women live in Brazil. And somehow the men are around to just sexualize them. It's amazing that in today's world that women are still being sexualized, and that aspect I don't like. Trying to get up. Sorry. So, one of the other videos on Brazil with the politics, it's a lot of violence in Brazil. And it's something like, because initially in the 1980s, late 70s, early 80s, 1980s, the media didn't discuss about the violence against women. It just wanted you to know about the romanticism. It's like come here to Brazil and live the fantasy. But it didn't mention about the crime and crime against women. It's just crime, period. They have a term in Brazil. They call it a favela, something like that. I can't even pronounce it. Favela. Those of you who are Brazilian, you can write down the term favela, something like that. In essence, it's another name for a ghetto. It's an area where the poor of the people live there, and most of the people that live there are people of black ancestry. And yes, Brazilians come in different complexion because there's a lot of racial mixing there. But in all, most of the people that live there are some type of black person or black heritage. And the crime is so intense. It's very congested also in this area. Favelas. Yeah, that's it. Favelas. So Brazil also had what I learned that also with Brazil, that Brazil had um, a dictatorship for 20 something years. The dictatorship, I think they said, ended in 1985. Um, yeah, the movies around that time, I think it touched a little bit about um, like the militarization of the place and people being thrown in jail. Yeah, like the kids of the Spider Woman. Also, I think talks of this stuff. Um, yeah, people are dying in Brazil, but they don't want you to really see that. But I've been recently finding other things about Brazil. People who are speaking out, women who are speaking out to say no, they don't want this. Um, this woman of Brazil, a light-skinned woman, she devised a phone app, and it lists where types of crimes that happen to women, sexual assault, uh, verbal assaults, things like that. It's so rampant, and the lady felt the need to make an app, and so you'll be able to see on this app where the offense has happened. Every few seconds, a woman is being violated in Brazil. This is awful. This is not romantic. This is, in my opinion, a legacy of slavery, because slavery is not a pretty system. Slavery is about dominance, and sexual assault is about dominance. It's not about um, sexual attraction, it's about aggression. I want to stress that. Rape is not a sexual act. Rape is an aggression against that party who is being targeted against. Okay, and I word it like that because male and female can be raped. Okay, but it's often women. Um, so I think it's really something that when you start to open your eyes about when the illusion and the veil, the illusion of romanticism starts to peel away, you start to see it more clearly. It's like removing the icing off the cake and seeing what's really beneath that, what that cake is really made out of. So now you have a president um, who used to be in the military, and the people are the many people of Brazil, its poor, are afraid of the militarization and the abuse of power upon these favelas slash ghetto. And I was like, well, I would be afraid too. They were wearing what looked like to me military uniform, but it's the police. They look like machine guns, and they're doing what's equivalent to stop and frisk. And they showed that this guy had like turned away something. He showed sign of fear. He was right by his home. I think by his door where he lived, at the favelas. And the mother comes out and said, "My son is not a criminal." And you know, um, the fear she had and the anger she had because they were um, approaching her son with those weapons, and a lot of people are being shot and killed. So all these things are happening in the Americas amongst other people of color. But there's a division that's happening um, Because see, terminology is very important, and it's what colors or perception. Everything here within this video is about perception, also perception based on what's being said. It makes you have an attitude towards something, a sentiment towards something. So they don't classify really the Latin America or Brazil as a black country, but the exotic place, and but not as a place where the masses of people are descendants of the slave trade, and being of have a slave past. And so in America, we're taught, that's Latin America. So if someone's from Latin America, then they are Latin people. So it's disguising the history of these people. So it's disconnected. It's said to disconnect us, North America, from South America, because that's another place. That is Latin America. That's not the place where the majority of black folks were taken to. Most blacks were sent to South America. The largest black population in the Americas is in South America. But see, when you hear Latin America, then you think, oh, it must be a different people. So you don't concern yourself with that. And I am remembering now that some years ago, I was just sitting down, relaxing. I was outside, and a white man was approaching different people. If he felt you were from Hispanic origin, he'll hand you a flyer regarding something happening in the Spanish-speaking world. And then if he thought you were non-Hispanic, he'll give you a flyer about South Africa. And it bothered me because it bothered me because he's deciding based on your looks rather than what your identity is. And he's deciding what news you are to get. Well, what if this person from what they call Latin America is not from that country? Just because someone is classified in America as from Latin America, a Brazilian may not be concerned with someone from Chile, or someone from Cuba, or even someone from Haiti. They're their own country, right? So again, it's labeling people and assuming because they have the same label put onto them by North American whites or North Americans in general, doesn't mean that they have a fellowship with each other. Again, it's labeling and putting people in categories, and that I have a problem with. So he was handing that. So I felt like, again, he's deciding for me what I should know and what I should not know based on my looks and his perception of me. Yeah. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, information. Someone is deciding for you in the media what you should know based on what they think you are. And having the knowledge that most of us, see, we didn't learn that in school. We didn't learn that most people in the Americas, where slavery happened the largest, was in South America. Your perception is disconnected. And I believe this occurred so that It is to fragmentize people of the descendants of the slave trade, victims of it. So if you're fragmentized, you're not connected. You're not as empowered. You don't have the same unity, people. Unity is the key word here. Unity. And if you base everything on, let's say, language, where there's all different languages being spoken in the Americas, and if you just go by that, you're not going to be, you're going to see one another as something different, not like family. So let's disconnect people. Let's disconnect the North from the South. We're going to call the South Latin America and the people to be Latins. And the people up north is either American of either black or white, in a nutshell. Of course, there are other races in America, in the United States of America. But again, the goal is to separate people and to separate the knowledge and the history of those people. And if you only teach a romanticized, sanitized history or awareness of a location, you will always be in the dark. You will always be in the dark. Why is it that in North America is such a polarization of race? And you don't really hear anything about other countries in the Americas. Blacks throughout the Americas are being squashed. You don't even hear about them in what they call Latin America. You very rarely hear about the blacks of Peru. And Peru, one of the Lima was considered a black city. What about, and again, other countries? We're becoming, we're forgetting our heritage, our history, on how these countries and why these countries were formed. Slavery wasn't just in the United States of America. And it was not just in Jamaica. It was all over. But now we're becoming enemies of one another. You speak this language, I don't like you. You speak that language, I don't like you. But yet we have pretty much the same history under slavery, including Brazil. We need to know what is going on in the Americas, because we have to know what's happening to one another. We have to help one another. And I think all of the Americas that had slavery, the time is now for reparations, because they want to put the Americas on a new level through this coronavirus. Coronavirus is the tool right now to, it's like a wedge. It is weaponized to put in a new world system. But we haven't gotten paid our reparations. You're going to forget about all the trauma. See, this trauma. The Americas has trauma. But we sugarcoat it and call them different types of people without really nipping in the bud. What's happening throughout the Americas is the legacy and the harm that slavery did. Poverty. You go in what they call Latin America, and who do you see that's not living in the favelas? or the barrios. Who lives in those nicer neighborhoods are people that look like white and identify with being white. And they have the money. And they may be the descendants of slave owners. Okay? So, this division and colorism that resulted in the Americas, it's a strong weapon. It's a strong weapon in these other parts of the Americas, colorism. The one with the lightest color, the one that looks the most European, are the ones that are considered desirable and the ones that are able to get the better paying jobs, while the darker skinned the ones that are mostly of African heritage, are the ones that are forgotten. So everybody's vying for that special seat, the white privilege. So this is, I think, where a lot of the pain in what they call Latin America is all about. How to keep power. So you have a lot of dictatorships that has happened in the Americas, or that type of government. It's about oppressing the masses. And the masses of the people in the Americas are people of black heritage, or Indian. They might be mixed with the indigenous. And we all know what happened to the Indians. They're no better. They weren't treated well. They were ravaged, their land taken away. Germ warfare happened to them as well. So in order to subdue people of indigenous and African ancestry, you have a dictatorship. Hello? Right? They don't have a dictatorship in Canada. It's overwhelmingly white, Canada. But now you do have a lot of immigration there of different races, yes. So you don't think that the dictatorship might have come out of its slave past? Slavery was a violent system. And violent means are to oppress. Any insurrection, right? And so just look at Brazil. But I see also the U.S. getting a possibility, changing, slowly becoming a dictatorship, a fascist-run system. They want to try to implement socialism. Government controlled everything, and now that with you got to wear a mask, you got to 6 feet apart. See, it's more control, right? And all this years, all this race stuff, all these things, like the guy that got the, I forget his name. I apologize. How could I forget his name? But it happened in May, and he was choked to death with they put the knee on his neck and killed him. This ugliness. It's becoming so violent. And who are they being violent against? Black people. They also will be getting violent to whites too. See, now with the coronavirus, people are losing their jobs. No money. You can't get to work. You can't make money. And it's being imposed. It's again, the coronavirus. It's only a cold flu. And people always have colds and flus, right? Why now? Because you have people in high places and they want to change it to a new system. Well, I'm not finished with the old system. The old system was an abuse done to many of us all over the Americas, and we didn't get our reparations. And it's not just getting, it's not about, it's about the recognition of what happened to you. See, when you are given a reparations, you're saying that a harm was done to you, and they're addressing that issue, and they are repairing the damage that was done to you. So it's again addressing that a problem was done, a harm was done. And then now with the coronavirus, they want to just forget about that and implement a new system, a new control. And this new control is going to leave you empty. It's not going to help you. This new control, all of us are going to be in poverty land. And we're going to be landless. That's also what I sense in all this. We're going to be landless because I believe they want to make it the land belonging to the government. So personal land and property is not going to be yours. So I don't want that. See, land is power. It always has been. I don't fully understand it, but land always equated power to the possessor. I don't own my own property. And I feel angry about that because I feel like history and my personal history prevented that from me to achieve. But I would love one day the option to have my own property and something that I can give to someone else when I leave this world, I want that ability. But this new system is taking control and is going to not address the reparations issue, and they want to implement a new system of control. And so now the whites in this society I live in, they too are going to be the new oppressed. See, there's someone above all of us that is implementing this new system that they're trying to implement through the coronavirus, and it's going to be so deadly, I perceive. So yes, the focus is on black people and the crimes done against black people and the crimes that blacks do upon blacks. See, that's also a legacy of slavery. You're angry, you're oppressed, you're in prison. Slavery is a prison. What do prisoners do? Prisoners fight other prisoners because they can't get out. So you become a free radical. You become radicalized. You become violent. And that's all you know and understand. And I told you about the lady that I saw 2 days ago. A young, she could have been in her 30s, a black woman, looked like of severe poverty. And she was instructing these two children, these two boys, could have been the age of 6, to fight. First had the boy hit her. I said, I got to get out of here. I walked past as fast as I could. And then the violent screaming of a woman's voice. When we turned around, this is out in the middle of the sidewalk. That same lady on the ground, on top of the two children, they were all fighting each other. This is a grown woman and 6-year-olds. There were 2 6-year-old boys. I never saw that in my life, and it scared me. Scared me. You don't think slavery has anything to do, that post-slavery has anything to do with her behavior? It's oppression. And at some point, sometimes you just crack. This woman cracked. Many of us are cracking, and we just become a wild radical. And we're a danger to everybody. And that's what's happening. That's what's happened to many of us. And I don't want this to continue, this radicalization. We're hurting. And some of us are hurting more than others. We're not free. We've never been free here. Those Brazilians are not free. They do the best they can, and they have one another, but the crime, see, that's the clue about the lack of freedom. When there's severe crime done against each other, and the killings that happen, see, they hide all that. See, Brazilian government hides those statistics. It hides that. It doesn't want you to see Brazil as a violent place. Yeah, women are being violated and killed, and then in the favelas, all these. They said there's a lot of drug wars, gangs, and drugs there. Now, how do those drugs get there? Because they're brought there, and it's brought there to control blacks, regardless of their mixture. You know what I'm saying? Whether light or dark, is to control them and to destroy their minds. So, I'm not ready for the new system that's going to be implemented with this coronavirus. I perceive it as real sinister. I want to be paid my reparations. It's a way of addressing a pain and a hurt that was never addressed. And then to just go to the next chapter, it's just going to be that much worse. You can't hide the past. You could try to disguise it and turn away, but if you don't address your past, its legacy is always going to be there. So we should know and learn about each other. What is happening in Brazil? What's happening in Peru? What's happening in Puerto Rico? What's happening in Cuba? What's happening in Haiti? What's happening in Jamaica? What's happening in Mississippi? What's happening in Florida? What is happening in California? All these places. We have to be connected. We have to know what's happening, because what happens to you is happening to us. And when we see that we have a common enemy, we'll be able to focus more and be able to protect ourselves more. That's my thought. So I know I said a lot, and I hope it's understood what I'm talking about. And again, this is not to be a put down about Brazil or Latin America or even Black America. This is just for an awareness, to open up awareness that what happens to one is happening to all of us, and that we have a common ancestry, and to let each one of us know that we're not forgotten and we're not alone. Okay, that's my intent here. It's not to shame. We're all in the same boat. So I hope that we're able to survive all this new coronavirus, this weaponized, politicized thing. It's all a hoax. I mean, yes, some people have died and sick. And maybe it's something more. Again, G5 could be an issue. The G5 also produces these sicknesses. And that's what it could be. That's what could be actually making us sick. But who knows? But I hope one day we find out the real truth. And if I err in anything I say, I apologize. I only speak to what my understanding is of what the truth is. And it's my desire to know what the truth is and be liberated. Okay? And I want liberation to anyone who hears this video. I thank you all for listening. Yes, you comment below. Share this video with friends, family members that you think would enjoy this content. And those who like this content and my channel, you may wish to support me through my PayPal me account. To do so, on my channel, on the banner on the right hand side, you will see my PayPal me link. Just click on the link and follow the prompt. Any amount would be appreciated, and I thank you all in advance. Take care, be safe, and love the person you see in the mirror. Okay? Bye-bye.